All right, it's 9:04 here in the brisk hill country in Texas. Welcome. This is another edition of 15 Minutes of Flame. It is the 17th of November, and we are headed rapidly towards a change of seasons, a change of signs, a change of times. It's all happening very quickly, and every day is an opportunity to catch the wind, as they say. All right, here we go. 1-0 Dragon 14 in the house. Good to see you there. There's Beth Berry. There's Z. Kestrel, what's going on, Kestrel? Good to see you. Early morning chats. Anna E. Hello, Anna. Danica Rose. Lisa Marie. Fup77. What's up, Fup? JMP Love. Hey, Jacqueline. Good to see you. There he is, Uncle Glenn, playing the hot corner. Paul Netton, what's going on, Paul? I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and Ellis's name came up. So I thought about you, and here you are. And this is how it works. There's Lils, Victoria V. There's Ryan. What's happening, Ryan? Frank By, stage 2 now. No mask mandate yet. People won't have it. Well, they're just itching. They're itching. They just want it. These governors, man, they just want to throw the hammer down. Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good to make other people feel confined and restrained while you get to move about and be liberated and free. Oh, that's a big power trip, isn't it? Let's see. Colby Branson, what's going on? Nice to see you. Tamara Garth. Hi, Tamara. Christy Tesmer. Ursula Hauser. Hey, Ursula. Welcome. Nice to see you. Very interesting person, this Ursula. Say howdy to her. She's very interesting. Let's see. Mary Black. No more lockdown. Hi, kids. Steve, what's going on, Steve? I'm going to reach out today and call you. T. Jordan. Must be cold there. It is a little chilly. Carrie Rose in the house. There's Charles. What's happening? Paulette. Ani Brito. The wench with a wrench. Good to see you, Ani. There's Joan. Lovely and talented Jonas. Double V. Let's see, who else do we have? There's Emerald V. Haven't seen her. Hey, what's happening, Elmy? Ralph Winter. Maskless in London. You keep the faith. Hold the line. There she is. Tea Time Leticia. Laurel Jubin. Hello there. Malarkey. Good Life 3. Coach K in the house. All right. We got an all-star lineup in chat today. Emily, your name came up yesterday too, with the same guy. Interesting. Jennifer Fitzgerald. There she is. There's Judy. Hello, Judy. Nice to see you on Sunday night. PB showing up here. They're forcing mass and lockdowns, telling people they cannot gather in Philadelphia. Okay. So that's a good jumping off point. Hey, what's happening, Mark? And Jimmers and Miranda. Definitely. I'm telling you, man, there is some wattage. There is some wattage in this chat room. I know a lot of you. I've met a lot of you. I've hung out with you virtually. What guy? Oh, it was a client I had from yesterday. So I have a sense as to who you are. There's a lot of wattage in this chat room. This is one switched on chat room. I just got to say, as I go through who you are, it's like, oh, wow, Mark Matheny's here. Jacqueline Pentex here. Oh, Emily's here. Uncle Glenn. I mean, and there's some of you I don't know, or haven't interacted with, but you're here. And so obviously you're part of the vibration. So you're part of the vibration nation. Z's here. Julie Flores. Hi, I am new here. Welcome, Julie. Welcome. Glad you could be here. So why don't we get started? And I'm going to put this out right now that you're probably going to get a whole lot of the same message from me. And you may get different iterations of it. You may get different snippets of information. But I'm going to pretty much continue to swing away at a central theme here. And that central theme is really about resistance and not bowing down to these people that are so hot and horny to bring this fourth industrial revolution and the great reset to build better back. Okay, this is going to be the message from here on out. And there is an all out multi front war going on right now for consciousness. It is a war on consciousness. It is a war on sovereignty, and it is a war on your personal freedom, individual expression, right to determine your own body and your relationship to your health with your own body, your livelihood, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we'll throw health in there. It's all really at risk right now. It's all at stake. And we've come to the moment. We have come to the moment. This is the moment that we have all been thinking about, wondering about when the next shoe is going to drop. This is it. This is the shoe. This is the military boot shoe that is about to drop. Okay, so we've all been, when's the next shoe going to drop? Well, this is it. It's here, and we're going to talk about it. And most of the programming and information I'm going to be dedicating this time and space to every single day will be related to that. Okay, so I'm just letting you know we need to have kind of one purpose, one intent, one goal in mind, and that's to make sure that these mind forged manacles that they want to incarcerate us with are going to be broken. That we will not consent to the mind forged manacles that they have in store for us. You know, the mind forged manacles take place first, then the physical manacles show up. So we're going to break the mental chain. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're here to do. We're here to break the mental chain. If we can break the mental chains, then the physical chains will not happen. Okay, it will not happen. So let's get into this. You guys can hang out with the tree here and spend a little time with the tree while I get out of the way, and we'll clear this space and just try to make this a really direct transmission today. Dear blessed and holy Mother, Father God of the great central sun, within the universal light, which is the light of Yeshua Sananda Emmanuel. We ask that only the highest and best information, truth, and wisdom come through at this time, and each and every one of us can receive it in the way that it is meant to be received for each individual, according to their own wisdom and according to their own ability to perceive what is said and shared. And we ask for one thing today, just one thing. We ask for focus in our lives, to focus on what we need to do, what we need to accomplish, what we need to execute, what we need to manifest. We ask for clarity and focus. Clarity as a wing or an add-on to focus. We also ask any karmic residue be cleansed, purified, clarified, and removed at this time. All right, let's get going. Yeah, man, let's just go with the focus thing. So I'll be laser beams for today. All right, here we go. So where do we want to start off? Where do I want to start off? Okay, here's where I want to start off. I want to start off with what's happening now with the lockdowns. Okay, they are in lockstep now. The lockdowns are in lockstep. And you're going to see California, well, California's already back to purple. Imagine that, purple revolution, color coding system. So California is into purple now, and we're seeing the hardcore states like Washington State, Oregon, they're all going into hardcore lockdown. Apparently Philadelphia, you can't even get into the city now. So this is a real problem. Now, remember, the antidote to the lockdowns is to simply remove the medical emergency. Okay, come on now. POTUS, that's all you got to do. That's all you have to do. That's all you got to do is you have to just say, okay, it's over. Unfortunately, the media is now in hyperdrive. They're in hyperdrive, spreading statistics and facts as rapidly as the so-called virus itself spreads and replicates. But there's a lot going on a state level and on local level. So here in this town, they've closed the schools and kids are back home again. And now the schools are fenced off and walled off. It's really getting very weird, very strange. Okay, very, very strange. So we're getting ready to hit mission critical. And I was watching. I don't really watch CNN all that much, but they're really headed towards full COVID. In fact, I don't watch it at all. Actually, it just crossed my Twitter feed. They're headed for full COVID 24/7 programming, and anything else that they can supplement with Biden, and basically conning the American people into thinking that a guy who could only get 100 people at best to his rallies is really the president-elect. Okay, so that's what their programming is, and it is programming. Keep that in mind. It is programming, and people are being programmed with the mask. I had a client yesterday who I briefly mentioned, and one of the things we talked about was the inability to convey a smile with the mask. I mean, yes, the eyes take on more of a significance, but I'll tell you, one of the things I've seen with most people who are masked up in public is there's nothing behind their eyes. Nothing. The eyes are either darting away, or in many cases, I actually see people kind of react in a zombie-like fashion. They're kind of dead. The eyes are dead. They're dead or darting. Like, who's looking at me? Who could I look at? So while the eyes do take on more of an emphasis with a person's face, because you can't see the entirety of their face, what's behind the eyes and what the eyes are doing are really frightening in some ways. There's no connection. There's no connection. So what the mask has done is it's robbed us of our ability to smile, which is an incredible thing that people have. And it's like you're going to be expressionless. If you've ever seen like a picture of an NPC, one of the least defined features of the NPC is their mouth. They have no mouth, right? They have no mouth. And so essentially what the mask does is the mask turns people automatically into an NPC. For those of you who do not know what an NPC is, it is a non-participating character that's game talk. That's what the mask does. It turns people into NPCs. So this is we're involved in a major experiment. This is really a reordering of the species. The mask itself is a mini lockdown of the persona. And as we've said before, it also does not allow people to breathe freely. You cannot get the full amount of oxygen in pneuma. Right? Pneuma is spirit, it's breath. And when the mask is on, you don't get as much pneuma into your body. And then you're not exhaling your spirit into the world. Right? You're not exhaling it into the world. Your spirit is trapped. Your spirit is trapped between a mouth covering and your face. And there are a number of people who are now turning up at dentist offices with what they call mask mouth. And these mouths, there are blisters, there's all kinds of things going on with the mask in the face. And it's actually deforming people. It's totally deforming people. And all they need to do is take the mask off for a while, get some oxygen in there, and let it breathe, okay? Let it freaking breathe. So we're at mission critical at this phase. And it's all linked to this idea of the Great Reset. Klaus Schwab in the Great Reset. We are going to create a new type of human based upon the synthesis of the biological, the physical, and the virtual, the digital. I mean, the guy is straight out of Bond casting. Oh, my God. He's like fucking Goldfinger. I mean, this is creepy. What's even creepier is I'm going to play you some Klaus Schwab just so you can get your daily dose of Schwab. And I'm going to play you Justin Trudeau, who, wow. wow. All I'll say is wow. Because Justin Trudeau feels like somebody who popped out of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Now, I've never sung the virtues of Justin Trudeau, trust me. And he's clearly capable of doing what he's doing, you know. Justin Castro. But his expression and his tone are absolutely and utterly frightening and creepy. So I'm going to play you some Klaus Schwab, and then I'm going to go into Justin Trudeau, so you guys can kind of get a sense as to what the Build Back Better program is all about. They're going to wipe the fuck out of everything. They're going to take everything to zero, and they're going to build back better, and they're going to offer us a world of equity, and they're going to offer us a world where nobody's going to own anything, and you won't have any responsibilities, and you'll get UBI, and you'll have a nice little Chinese credit score. And if you play ball and you rat out your friends and you get people to do things in your inner sanctum that they probably don't want to do, they'll reward you for that, so that maybe, just maybe, you might get a piece of meat every now and then, but it won't be real meat. It'll be cloned meat. But, when you're in the Matrix, cloned meat is as good as the real thing. So let me play you some Schwab here. Where are we? Here we go. So there it is. This is from Zero Hedge. Klaus Schwab, Great Reset will lead to fusion of our physical, digital, and biological identity. He's got little fingers. Klaus, you have little fingers. He's got little sausage fingers. Look at them. Little sausage fingers. Globalist Klaus Schwab made it clear that transhumanism is an integral part of the Great Reset when he said that the fourth industrial revolution would lead to a fusion of our physical, digital, and biological identity, which in his book he clarifies is implantable microchips that can read your thoughts. Who the fuck thinks this is a good idea? Who thinks, it almost seems like a setup in some ways. It's sort of like, the archons are saying, look, here, you're going to get this guy, and if you don't wake up based on what this guy is saying, then you don't deserve anything. It's like they've trotted this guy right out in front, stage center, for the last vestige of humanity that is still dozing off. And they're making a value-based judgment based on whether or not you can wake up and smell the coffee, because it is so in your face right now. As we highlighted earlier, the Great Reset is attracting a deluge of fresh attention in the aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic, which Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said was an opportunity for a reset. We'll get to him. So I'm going to play this video, but I want to show you. Hold on 1 second. I keep blinking because my glasses are funky. All right, let's do this. Okay, better. All right, I want you to check this out. Schwab went on to explain how his book, Shaping the Future of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, was particularly popular in China, South Korea, and Japan, with the South Korean military alone purchasing 16,000 copies. Okay, I don't mean this to be racially insensitive. Please don't take it that way. But different cultures have different zeitgeists, right? They have different zeitgeists. They have different raison d'etres. They have different mindsets. And let's just say that Korea, Japan, and China have a much more homogeneous response to things, both positively and negatively. As capabilities in this area, okay, here we go. This is important here. In the book, Schwab explains with excitement how upcoming technology will allow authorities to intrude into the hitherto private space of our minds, reading our thoughts and influencing our behavior. He goes on to predict that this will provide an incentive for law enforcement to implement minority report style pre-crime programs as capabilities in this area improve. I'm not making this shit up, okay? As capabilities in this area improve, the temptation for law enforcement agencies and courts to use techniques to determine the likelihood of criminal activity, assess guilt, or even possibly retrieve memories directly from people's brains will increase, writes Schwab. Even crossing the national border might one day involve a detailed brain scan to assess an individual's security. Like they want to go in and retrieve your memory, like, oh, you had a really violent thought when you were 23 years old or 25 years old and you were drunk like a skunk. Can you believe this shit? This is what they have in store for humanity, okay? Want to get up in here. They can already get up in here pretty well right now. But this would be the real coup d'etat. Schwab also waxes lyrical about the transhumanist utopian dream shared by all elitists, which ultimately lead to the creation of human cyborgs. Fourth industrial revolution technologies will not stop at becoming part of the physical world around us. They will become part of us. Indeed, some of us already feel that our smartphones have become an extension of ourselves. Today's external devices, from wearable computers to virtual reality headsets, will almost certainly become implantable in our bodies and brains. I mean, great. You really want this shit? Come on, people. Let's hear what Dr. Evil has to say about this.
It's at the end. What the fourth industrial revolution will lead to is a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological identities. When I wrote the book, I started to write it for years ago. It was published 3 years ago. It was sold, very interesting, over 1 million times in the world. And what is interesting is that 800,000 copies, more than 800,000 copies of those 2 million were sold in 3 countries alone: China, Japan, and South Korea.
So he just said it was over 1 million, then it became 2 million. By the end of the talk, I bet you this book has sold at least 3 million.
Korea. You may be interested, who was the biggest buyer with 16,000 copies at the same time? It was the Korean military. Because the fourth industrial revolution will have a major impact also on warfare.
Isn't that great? Isn't that just great? You got to keep up with the latest techniques to dominate and torture people. Because if you don't, guess what? The other guys will, and they'll use it against you. And that's always been the excuse. You're gonna have to tech up. You're gonna have to arm up. And in this case, the armory is technology, right? The armature is technology. Okay, so I want to play you the Justin Trudeau video now, because it is, I think, even scarier than the Klaus Schwab video. Where is he? Okay, I gotta find him. I got all these tabs opened up. All these tabaroos. Here, let me show you this. This is the Mockingbird. Before I go to, they've all got the same talking points, but you know who's not said the same talking points as these clones? Donald Trump. I've never once heard Donald Trump say, "Build back better, build back better, build back better, build back better, building back better." Build back better. Biden was saying it, throughout his campaign. That was code. Poverty at the crossroads, using leadership and the multidimensional poverty index to build back better. What the hell is a multidimensional poverty index? Does that mean you get to be impoverished in the fourth and fifth dimensions? And this guy, he's toast. He's just absolute toast. Build back better. Build back better. Build back better with Nickelback. All right, so I wanted to show you that. That's the mantra. That's the Mockingbird mantra. Build back better. All right, let me find you the Trudeau thing. Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, that's him. All right, let me go back over here. Do this. Every now and then a tab disappears. But then it reappears. All right, it's only 28 seconds long, but you'll get the drift. You'll definitely get the drift. Canada, here's your pod minister. Watch this guy.
Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs. Canada is here to listen and to help. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change. Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs. Canada is here to listen and to help. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
Now, if you were somebody that had snorted a couple lines of the red pill, you would listen to that. You would say, oh, wow, that sounds very reasonable. That sounds very humanitarian. But the guy was a total pod person. I mean, he was potted out, totally potted out. And they're putting it right in your face. They're telling you it's about Agenda 2030. They're telling you it's about the Great Reset. They are broadcasting. They're putting it on billboards across your minds, okay? And if you don't understand that, and if you don't awaken to that now, there is very little hope. This is it. This is like the last chance for gas as you're driving through bumfuck Nevada, okay? Last chance for gas. You better read the sign. You better pay a little bit more for the damn gas so you have the opportunity to get to where you're going, okay? They're letting you know. And if you don't get it, it's your fault. That's how they play their game. It's your fault. We're telling you. We're telling you exactly what we're going to do. We're telling you exactly where it's going. And if you don't fill in the blanks, if you don't fill in the spaces, if you don't read between the lines, it is your fault. That's exactly what they're doing. Exactly. I'll put some links in here. Well, that's a Twitter link, but you can find it. The Klaus Schwab link I'll put in there. So, but they're making it like this incredibly dystopic, horror script. That's exactly what they're laying out. But ultimately, they're going to lead you into Brave New World, and everything will be hunky-dory, la-di-da. You won't own anything. But guess what? All your needs will be taken care of, and you can just throw your VR glasses on and escape the hell of the world that they've created by some virtual world that they clearly want you to be a part of more than this world. Man, we are at the precipice. This is it. So here's what I think has happened. I watched a Brendan O'Connell video yesterday, and he said something that really resonated with me and kind of awoke a memory that I had. And he believes that Trump was not supposed to win. And I actually agree with him, because I remember watching Trump after he had won. He seemed shocked. He seemed absolutely shocked and confounded. I remember I was like, for a guy who just did all this politicking and all these debates and really threw out a lot of heavy duty rhetoric, you would think that he would be, fist pumped in the air, like, he'd be the Donald. He seemed really shocked. So I think that there was something going on with the voting systems, even back then. And Dominion was around then. And who knows what happened? Who knows? Maybe the Russians did get in. Maybe the Russians did influence the election in a way that we don't know. Maybe somebody else got it. Who knows? It could have been his Talpiot pals. Who knows? But I don't think he was supposed to be president. I think it was supposed to be Hillary Clinton. Now I saw the chart and I thought, this is Donald Trump's election. I actually called it he was going to win. But that said, it was supposed to be Hillary Clinton's election. She was supposed to win it. Why? Because they would be much further along with their Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 program. Much further along. They would have had 4 years to ramp up to get here. We probably would have had this virus probably about 2 years ago. That's what I think would have happened, and amongst many other things. But Trump gets in, and now all of a sudden they've got to create a whole new set of parameters that are being spit out by the AI to figure out how they're going to, number one, quell a populist or nationalist kind of feeling, which is counterproductive for their global hegemony in the global village. It's a small world after all on genetically modified cannabis. So this is, I think, what happened. And along the way, I think when Trump got into office, I don't think he had a fucking clue. I really don't. I don't think he had a fucking clue. I think he brought people in based on the advice of other people. He's not a Washington insider. He doesn't know anybody. Like Joe Biden and the people around Joe Biden, they can get on the phone and they just start calling people. It's like, you're in, you're in, you're in, you're in. Trump does not come from that world. He doesn't have that kind of access. So he had to lean on other people, right? So even the support staff inside of the White House, many of which had been there from, Obama all the way through Bush. I mean, they got Bush and Obama people in there. And do you think they're going to be all warm and fuzzy for this new guy? Hell no, that's not the case at all. So you have to have a country that can run theoretically, since they've set it up this way, although I have different ideas about that. But in order to keep the country, you have to keep some of those people in place, because they kind of are, years for this system, even though they started to seize and freeze up, at the most opportune moments during Trump's presidency. But one of the things that I would have done if I was president is I would have slowly replaced as many of those people as possible, as many of them as possible over time. Within the first 2 years, they'd all be gone. They'd all be gone. Period. End of story. And I don't know where he was getting his picks from, whether it was Gina Haspel or the generals. Oh my God, the generals. Oh, let's get the generals in here. Right. Yeah. Okay. Whoever was lining him up with these people, he didn't know. He didn't know. He didn't understand. He did not have the networks in place. You want to build a building? He'll know where the materials come from. He'll know the contractors. He'll know his competitors. He'll know how to deal with the local politicians in order to get easements and all that other shit, right? But this is a whole different animal, a whole different beast. So he got in there. It's like he hired a lot of insiders, and he was surrounded by Goldman Sachs people, which helped him get elected. Okay. And now he's like, okay, well, now I'm here. I got to wash the hands. I got to wash the hand that got me here. So I think he threw him. And the thing that he did that really put this thing into reverse was not signing off on the Paris Accord. Now, whatever you think of Trump, whether he's the Antichrist or the avatar that's going to save us, I can tell you one thing is that he's been very consistent with his message, because I've seen videos of him going back to his days with Larry King. Donald Trump is an American, even though he plays at a global level and has done business with people around the world. I think he bought Adnan Khashoggi's yacht at one point, didn't he? I think that's true, by the way. So, but his message when he was on like the Larry King show or David Letterman was always about America first. He was always wanting to put America first. He's been sounding that message for a long time. So when he began to basically make that his platform, it wasn't like he was just picking up some kind of, populist plank and he was going to stand on that. That was always a part of him. That's a problem for the globalists. It's a big problem for them because they don't want any national identity anymore. And in fact, if you go to Facebook right now, you were to go to like Justin Trudeau's page and Emmanuel Macron's page or Merkel's page on Facebook, and now pages, none of their positions are listed. They're not listed as premier, chancellor, president, whatever titular role, whatever title they have. It's not listed. They're listed as politicians. Same with Donald Trump. Same the political candidate. They don't even have him as president anymore. Political candidate. So what does that mean? It means that they've eliminated the idea that there are people who actually theoretically run countries. Well, they did us a favor in a lot of ways. They're breaking it to you. That's all they were ever. They had no authority. The only authority that was granted to them was the authority vested them by the people who got them there and who were paying their salaries. So they're just revealing what they were all along. But that's the plan. There will be no more governments. They'll be kaput. Kaput. Kaput is also connected with algal. They'll be kaput, right? Guillotined. Over. Done. Well, who's going to run the planet? It's going to be corporations. And I've been talking about this for a while now. I mean, if you go back in, what was it? It was like, I think it was last year. I was still doing videos with Regina. And it was the Fortune 200 companies. There was a roundtable of Fortune 200 companies, and they all got together. And they all decided, well, not all of them, I would say. I think it was about 193 of them, something like that. Almost all of them got together and plotted out a map for the future. And they all agreed that they were going to put people before profits, which is code. And that code is like, okay, what we're going to do is we are going to essentially virtue signal from here on out. We're going to put people before profits. So nobody really knew what that meant at the time. But as the year progressed, or actually regressed in a lot of ways, it was very clear what they meant by that. It meant that they were going to actually support people and causes that were not really shared by the same people that helped build those companies. That's exactly what they meant, because they were going to lose money. Nike's lost over $700 million. They've got a shitload of layoffs. So yeah, they're going to put people before profit. We're going to support a small select group of people, even if it's unpopular, and even if we lose money, that's what we're gonna do. And they all agreed upon that. Why? Well, they agreed upon that because they knew, number one, that they'd get bailed out. Number two, those companies will be the companies that will basically run the planet. They'll run the planet in their subdivisions. They will run the planet. And they're sacrificing their stake in their capitalist endeavor of raising their shares for their stockholders, their shareholders. They're going to sacrifice that because they will be the new organelle that will rule over the rest of the world, the rest of the planet. I'm going to show you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay. Oh, look at this. What do we have here? Who's this guy? Is that another version of Biden? Report, Fortune 500 CEOs will intervene if Joe Biden isn't inaugurated by January 20th. Okay, what are they going to do? Executives from Fortune 500 corporations say they're planning to intervene if Democrat Joe Biden is not inaugurated into office. Okay. If Mr. Trump tries to undo the legal processes or disrupts a peaceful transition to Biden, the CEOs discuss making public statements and pressuring GOP legislators in their states who may try to redirect electoral college votes from Biden to Trump. So they're already on this, right? They're going to put pressure. They're going to put pressure on people, legislators, so that if this thing breaks down and they do have to take this to the Congress and it has to vote down party lines and Trump wins, they're basically saying, you do that and we're going to fuck you. Okay. That's exactly what they're saying. They are threatening. They're threatening this process because they are next in line. They're next in line, and they know that if Donald Trump wins or somehow back in here, he's going to fuck up their relationship with China. They're not going to get cheap shit. This is a big problem for them, and they want to nip it in the bud. They want their guy in the White House so that they can not only continue to do business as usual, but they can do business as usual by building back better. They're all fine with him taking an appeal to the court, to a judicial process. They didn't want to deny him that, but that doesn't stop the transition. What the hell kind of logic? Oh, go ahead. You can do that. Well, what if the appeal and the courts say, well, guess what? This thing stinks, and we've got to take this to the Congress, and they're going to have to ratify this or vote on this thing with the electors. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Oh, you can have your little fantasy, but if you're going to get in the way of the transition, I'm sorry, that's just not going to work. Who is this guy? Sonnenfeld. They said that if it makes people feel better, it doesn't hurt anything to let that grind through. Oh, isn't that just wonderful? Oh, we'll let you just have your little moments. We'll let you have your little moments so you can feel better. But that's it. The CEOs decided to wait for November 20th certification votes in Georgia before meeting to decide. These guys are fucking seditious. They're seditious. They are seditious. They should be. Don't get me started. They're seditious. I have to watch what I say sometimes. I don't want to pull Steve Bannon. God. But of course, who are they? Jeffrey Sonnenfeld, Yale management professor. Jeffrey Sonnenfeld. Who is this guy? You see what's happening? This is the new guard. These are the managers of the reset. Let's see. Who is this character? He was born in Philadelphia, Mississippi. He's written some books. He is the senior associate dean, Yale School of Business, I believe. Management, leadership studies. Lester Crown Professor in Practice of Management. Founder, Chief Executive Leader. Okay. There he is. Yale. Did he go to Yale? Let's see if we can do a Wikipedia, find out more about him. Yes, indeed. Let's see. He went to Harvard. Oh. Academic work, Yale School of Management. So he did undergrad at Harvard, and then he went to Yale and the Lester Crown professorship. What's his sign? Oh, he's an Aries. April 1st. Look out. Look out. All right. I'm not gonna spend much time on this guy. I just wanted to get he's the son of Burton Sonnenfeld, a men's clothing retailer, and Rochelle Sonnenfeld, a healthcare planner and community leader who came to the U.S. as refugee immigrants from Russian pogroms. Sonnenfeld attended public schools in Cheltenham and Abington townships in suburban Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and was an active school leader. While his summers were spent working in the community as an Eagle Scout, he worked through the year in his parents' retail clothing store in nearby Hatboro, Pennsylvania. He earned his AB, MBA, and doctorate at Harvard University during his undergraduate days. He was president of WHRB, the college radio station, as well as an oarsman. At age 26, he joined the faculty of the Harvard Business School, where he taught for 10 years. Okay, so this guy he's never built anything. He's never built anything. He's concept and theory. That's what he is. You got it right here. That's a little better, right? He's concept and theory. That's what he is. He hasn't built anything. He's an academic. He's an academic. To me, these people are so out of touch with the so-called common man. They don't give a shit. All they care about is their tenureship and building back better, apparently. And this is the guy that's going to step in, and he's going to basically blow up the bridge for any kind of real investigation or any kind of real revelation around this completely fraudulent voting process, which has plagued us for not just years, but for decades, okay? And he's going to step in because he knows better. He knows better. He's an intellectual. He's a doctor. Dr. Jeffrey Sonnenfeld. He's an elite, right? They don't give a shit. All they care about are models of the future that they all agree upon, where they get to, ooh, it's kind of intense. A lot of intensity with light. I'll try to do that. How's that? And I got this glowy halo effect now. Ooh. Anyway. All right, enough about him. You get the idea though, right? These are your new masters. It's like, okay, we're done. We're done with that political thing. It was fun. It was fun. It was a lot of strife, a lot of money changed hands, but we're moving to a different model. And if anybody's going to be political, all they're going to do is just carry out our orders. That's all they're going to do. They're just going to order lockdowns, or they'll send the troops out, or whatever we need them to do, they'll do it. And there'll be no discourse. Everything will be based on, rational thought and everything that you theoretically need for your life. And oh, by the way, we have the analytics and the data and the metrics to know exactly what you need based on your age, based on your caloric input and output. We're going to take care of all that. All your energy needs will be met accordingly as well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, they'll live like gods. They'll absolutely live like gods. This is where we're at. Do you want these guys to run the planet? Do you really want them to run the planet? Do you trust them to run the planet? People have been so out of touch with the rest of humanity that they think that they know exactly what needs to take place, and because they're somehow more qualified than the rest of us. No, come on, wake up. All right. Let me show you where this is headed from a very practical standpoint. Folks in the UK and everybody else should be paying attention to this. UK citizens could be banned from going into work without proof of COVID vaccination. You get your COVID-19 immunity passport. Speaking with HuffPost UK's Commons People podcast, as noted by Metro, Conservative Tom Tugendhat has warned that he could certainly see the day when proof of vaccination was required to return to normal life. If vaccination works, and if we're confident it's safe, and all indications so far so good, yeah, right, then I can certainly see the day when businesses say, look, you've got to return to the office. And if you're not vaccinated, you're not coming in. Maybe you just say, I'm not coming in. The MP was speaking in the week. Pfizer's vaccine candidate was proven to be 90% effective. Oh, really? 90% effective. What about that little sneaky 10%? What happens with that? Does that mean that you still have your so-called COVID-19? Or does that mean that there are some unfortunate side effects? It's like you're playing Russian roulette there. Preparations are now being made to administer the jab and potentially others that are still in development. Oh, it's not just one. Of course not. You're not just going to get one vaccine. Are you kidding me? You're a customer for life, an absolute customer for life. And they'll be able to induce a lot of interesting X factors into your life and into your body. Let's just put it that way. The government has outlined a strategy for getting people vaccinated as quickly as possible, starting with those who are most vulnerable or are working on the front line of the pandemic. Despite some experts urging the government to make getting the vaccine mandatory, Health Minister Matt Hancock has previously stressed that this will not be the case. Now, I don't know who Matt Hancock is, but there's always kind of the voice of dissent. Whether or not he's truly a voice of dissent, they always have one out there. So people can go, oh. As we noted last week, US-based Ticketmaster is planning to verify concertgoers' vaccination status or whether they've tested negative for COVID-19 within a 24 to 72-hour window. You know what I have to say to that? Don't go to a fucking concert. Don't go to a concert. Don't go to a sporting event. Let them all rot, okay? Let them all rot. That's one way you can make a difference. Just don't go. Don't go. Don't go. I mean, music's garbage anyway. It's all garbage anyway. Maybe for young people who want to go out and, experience what young people experience. See a hip hop guy dressing in a dress. I mean, maybe that's what they want to do. Or maybe the country and western scene, one of the most obedient cliques of listeners I've ever run across. Totally obedient. Maybe they'll get it. Oh, I think I'll go get that vaccine. You know what? I'll get that vaccine. I really want to go see that Alabama, Florida Lion concert coming up. It's been such a long time since I've been able to go out. This vaccine's free, right? As we noted last week, we said that MP Tugendhat, what kind of name is that? Tugendhat, who chairs the Foreign Affairs Committee, also pointed to foreign travel. Another example, industries which already require proof of vaccination for visitors trying to enter certain countries. I remember when I used to travel, rather more than I do now, when you went to certain countries, you had to show a yellow fever certificate. And if you did not have a yellow fever certificate, You weren't allowed in the country, and that was that, said Tugendhat, adding, there was no debates, no appeals, no further requests. And I can see a situation where, yes, of course, you're not free to leave, have the vaccine. See, you're free to not have, you're free not to have the vaccine. But there are consequences. Oh, yeah. No travel, no concerts, no employment, no food. You don't exist. Those are the consequences. So who came up with the strategy? Who was the architect for the lockdowns? Was it Bill Gates? Was it the WHO? Was it Tony Fauci? Was it Niall Ferguson? Who was the architect of the lockdown strategy? Well, I'm going to show you who the architect is, and guess what? You're going to be quite surprised. Very surprised. I'm going to tell you right now, it is none of the above. None of the above. This is from a paper. Now, you know that this is most likely real. This comes from May 15th. This is not a recent story. We have to go all the way back in time to the glory days of May 15th. 2006 origins of the lockdown idea. Now begins the grand effort on display in thousands of articles and news broadcasts daily, somehow to normalize the lockdown and all its destruction in the last 2 months. We didn't lock down almost the entire country in 68, 69, 57, 49, 52, or even during the 1918, but in the terrifying few days of March 2020, it happened to all of us, causing an avalanche of social, cultural, and economic destruction that will ring through the ages. There's nothing normal about it at all. We'll be trying to figure out what happened to us for decades hence. This is true. How did a temporary plan to preserve hospital capacity turn into 2 to 3 months of near universal house arrest and ended up causing worker furloughs at 256 hospitals, a stoppage of international travel, a 40% job loss among people earning less than $40K per year, devastation of every economic sector, mass confusion and demoralization, a complete ignoring of all fundamental rights and liberties, not to mention the mass confiscation of private property with forced closures of millions of businesses. Whatever the answer, it's got to be a bizarre tale. What's truly surprising is just how recent the theory behind lockdown and forced distancing actually is. So far as anyone can tell, the intellectual machinery that made this mess was invented 14 years ago, and not by epidemiologists, but by computer simulation modelers. It was adopted not by experienced doctors. They weren't ferociously against it, but by politicians. Let's start with the phrase social distancing, which has mutated into forced human separation. The first time I heard it was in the 2011 movie Contagion. The first time it appeared in the New York Times was February 12th, 2006. It's all about the avian flu. Okay, I'm going to move ahead here. I want to get to the meat of it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. All right. Notice that in the course of this planning, neither legal nor economic experts were brought in to consult and advise. Instead, it fell to Metcher, formerly of Chicago, and an intensive care doctor with no previous experience in pandemics, and the oncologist Hatchett. So we have Dr. Metcher and Dr. Hatchett. Hello, Dr. Metcher. Hello, Dr. Hatchett. That's an interesting name for a doctor, right? Dr. Hatchett. Hello, my name is Dr. Hatchett, and I'll be performing your surgery today. Oh, thanks. Here we go. But what is this mention of a high school daughter of 14? Okay, so here we go. Let's go back here. All right. So it was a high school daughter of 14 right here. So let's go back right here. And it had some unexpected detours, including a deep dive into the history of the 1918 Spanish flu and an important discovery kicked off by a high school research project pursued by the daughter of a scientist at the Sandia National Laboratories. Now, this is the same place that did the critical race theory training or retraining. So here's a young girl. She's in high school. Her daddy's a scientist at Sandia. But what is this mention of the high school daughter of 14? Her name is Laura M. Glass. And she recently declined to be interviewed when the Albuquerque Journal did a deep dive on this history. Laura, with some guidance from her dad, devised a computer simulation that showed how people, family members, co-workers, students in schools, people in social situations interact. What she discovered was that school kids come in contact with about 140 people a day, more than any other group. Based on that finding, her program showed that in a hypothetical town of 10,000 people, 5,000 people would be infected during a pandemic if no measures were taken. But only 500 would be infected if the schools were closed. Laura's name appears on the foundational paper arguing for lockdowns and forced human separation. That paper is Targeted Social Distancing Designs for Pandemic Influence. You want to see the paper? It's right there. Right there. So we got Daddy, Robert Glass, Laura M. Glass, Walter E. Baylor, and Jason Min. This all comes out of Albuquerque in Sandia. So she worked on it. And you want to read this? I'll put this as a link. You guys can send this out to your pals. And you can say that a 14-year-old, not to say that some 14-year-olds aren't capable of doing interesting things. They are. But let's be real about this. What we're experiencing now came through a high school science project. Imagine that. They conclude with a chilling call for what amounts to a totalitarian lockdown, all stated very matter-of-factly. Implementation of social distancing strategies is challenging. They likely must be imposed for the duration of the local pandemic and possibly until a strain-specific vaccine is developed and distributed. If compliance with strategy is high over this period, an epidemic within a community can be averted. However, if neighboring communities do not also use these interventions, infected neighbors will continue to introduce influenza and prolong the local epidemic, albeit at a depressed level, more easily accommodated by healthcare systems. So the longer it sticks around, essentially what they're saying is the impact of that influenza will lessen. Gee, what a thought. What a theory. What an idea. In other words, it was a high school science experiment that eventually became law of the land, and through a circuitous route propelled not by science, but politics. The primary author of this paper was Robert J. Glass, a complex systems analyst with Sandia National Laboratories. He had no medical training, much less an expertise in immunology or epidemiology. See, these are the architects of the new world. They're systems analysts. These are the technocrats. This is what Patrick Wood talks about. This guy is a technocrat, and he's going to devise a system. And that system is going to be the thing that will basically run at a highly efficient level so that society can maintain its order, can maintain its optimal health and optimal productivity, theoretically. Right. That explains why Dr. D.A. Henderson, who had been the leader of the international effort to eradicate smallpox, completely rejected the whole scheme. Dr. Henderson was convinced it made no sense to force schools to close or public gatherings to stop. Teenagers would escape their homes to hang out at the mall. School lunch programs would close, and impoverished children would not have enough to eat. Hospital staffs would have a hard time going to work, and their children are at home, et cetera, et cetera. So he's against it. But guess what? Guess who won out? It was the Sandia gang. So this young woman, Laura Glass, when she was a high schooler, wrote this paper, and the 3 adults helped her out. And that became the lockdown policy standard. A 14-year-old. 14. Now, that's not to say 14-year-olds aren't capable of great things. They can be. But she didn't write that paper in a vacuum. She had help. So there you go. I'll put some links here today. So you guys, if you want to pass them around, you can pass them around. I think the big thing right now is to get as many people aware of the Great Reset. I think that's where you want to go. If you want to be a revelator, if you want to blow Gabriel's horn in the year 2020, that's what you got to do. You got to get people's head wrapped around this Great Reset thing and share as much information around Klaus Schwab as possible. It's all out there now. They're showing their hand. And again, to get back to the Trump piece, Trump fucked things up. He fucked the timing up. By not being in the Paris Accord, he screwed things up. We'd be much further along at this point with them than we are. And they're having to rush things. They're having to rush things now. And when they rush things, it gets sloppy. So would they have wanted to maybe be a bit more vague and maybe a bit more utopianistic with Klaus Schwab and Trudeau and all these other archonic puppets? Maybe. I think they would still leave us clues because that's what they're supposed to do. They still leave us clues. That said, I think that they're being sped up. They have to get this thing geared up. We're hitting 2021, which is the start date for Agenda 21, and they want to fulfill this thing by 2030. They're on a 9-year march to usher in a completely new era. Completely new era. So if you want to be of service, you want to be of use, you want to feel like you're making a difference, learn all you can about the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, get as much information around Klaus Schwab, Davos, who Klaus Schwab serves, and what is behind this engine. And if you can share that information in a way that is rational, clear, logical, people might get it. They might get it. That might be the thing that opens their eyes. And you cannot leave out the COVID piece because they're using the COVID piece as a transfer agent. So that's what I would recommend. And everything's got to be really focused now. Like, this is it. And I may bang this drum for the next 3 weeks or the next month or however long I need to and can. I'm going to bang this drum. I'm going to try to bring you as much information as possible around these really important ideas. I mean, because children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, they're all at risk. The future of humanity is at stake here. This is it. We all knew this day would come, and it is here. It is right. It is not just here. It's right around the corner. In fact, it was here in May, or March rather. March 13th or March 11th. So on Fridays, Steve and I had a discussion, and I'm going to try to begin to tailor and craft some of the Friday content to be what I would call empowering. Okay, so I'm gonna really try to bring in some guests that will give you some interesting tools for living and living in this world and even in the worlds to follow or the worlds to come. So that's going to be part of the Friday forecast as well moving forward. So we're just trying to give you as much as possible as it relates to all this stuff. Okay. Yeah, you guys you got to just learn. You got to learn this Fourth Industrial Revolution and Schwab and the Great Reset inside out. Okay. And the reason why I think it's really important and effective is number one, it doesn't single out like, a bad actor per se. It's a bad idea enacted by a lot of people who are really bad actors. So you're not saying, oh, the Chinese are behind it. Oh yeah, the Chinese, they're always behind everything. Or, oh, it's the Jews. The Jews are doing, oh, that's an old canard. It's always the Jews, isn't it? This takes all of that out of the equation. When you say the Russians, oh, of course, the Russians were in. I knew it. I knew the Russians were in on it. So you can tell them the Russians are in on it, and they'll believe you. Hey, why not? Why not? If it saves the planet, blame the Russians, right? Tell them the Russians are behind the Great Reset. That might open their eyes. Really? Oh, wow. That's interesting. We should be concerned about this. In times of crisis, bending the truth a little bit, creating an enlightening fiction might be the thing to do. No, you don't have to go there. I'm just telling you, just present them with the facts. And don't listen. Don't listen. I mean, it's all there. He's saying it. He's saying it. You can just grab that text. Say, does this sound like the world you want to be in? Does this sound like a world you want to be in? You want to put chips in your head? Figure out your memories? Where you've been? What you said? The violent thoughts you might have had? All that shit? I'd say most people would say no. What they do with it, that's another story. Another story altogether. Okay. Do we have anything else here today? No, I got this. I'm not sure what to do with this thing. This is bizarre. I'm just going to throw this in here because it's a really bizarre story. I don't know what to do with it. It crossed my radar. I'm like, can it get even weirder? Exclusive, how a Philly mob boss stole the election and why he may flip on Joe Biden. This is crazy. The innermost circles of the American mafia are abuzz. The boss of the Philly mob, Skinny Joey. Hey, Skinny Joey. Merlino is taking a victory strut, hobnobbing around the highest echelons of old-time mafia folk, mostly in Florida, describing what may have been the heist of the century, the 2020 presidential election. The feat is drawing praise from far-flung corners of the Italian-American business community, which sees the thanks of a grateful administration as key to the revival of the community's political influence. Oh, okay. But as associated with that, Merlino might just be willing to flip. That's what he says on Joe Biden and the Pennsylvania political operatives who ordered up some 300,000 election ballots marked for Biden. This guy went out and printed the damn ballots. The source alleges that Merlino and a lean team of associates manufactured those ballots at a rate of $10 per ballot, a whopping $3 million for 3 days' work. They were then packaged into nondescript cardboard boxes and dropped off outside the Philadelphia Convention Center. Sources who spoke to the Chronicle on the condition of anonymity say that Merlino picked up those ballots from 2 private households where a trusted handful of associates were busily marking the ballots with Sharpie markers. So I guess it's okay in Philadelphia. They were paid more than $1,000 per hour, often producing thousands of ballots for every hour for more than 60 nearly consecutive hours. Wow. The ballots were purchased in cash. It's thought that Democratic Party operatives working inside the Philadelphia's election office provided Merlino with crates of raw ballots just hours before polls closed on election night, which he transported to 2 private households in South Philadelphia. Isn't South Philly where the Four Seasons lawn care is? By 10 p.m., they know all about this guy. By 10 p.m. that night, Merlino's operation was already generating more than 3,000 ballots per hour, which quickly scaled to more than 6,000 ballots per hour before midnight. By now, Merlino might just be willing to flip on Biden. In primetime congressional testimony, if President Donald J. Trump is willing to issue the longtime mobster a full expungement of his decades-long criminal record, and of course, Merlino wants to be pardoned for the election fraud itself and any crimes to which he may incriminate himself during the testimony. Now, here's the tricky thing here. You pardon him, and he doesn't have to say anything. He doesn't have to say anything. You say, oh, you pardon me, thank you. I can walk free. I have no criminal past. I've been pardoned for a major election crime, Hey, fuck you, Donnie. He wants a clean record. He wants to fish and hunt on federal lands. Well, don't we all? He'd really like a job with the National Park. What the fuck is this? He'd really like a job with the National Park Service. Could you imagine this guy working in a park somewhere? Could you imagine that? Hey, put out that fire, okay? Can you read the fucking sign? Put the fucking fire out, all right? I don't want to come back here again. Could you imagine this guy working for the Park Service? He wants to fish and hunt. You need a clean record to get those things, explains one confidant. But most of all, he wants the thanks of a grateful nation. Oh, he's going to help us out there. How about that? We live in a bizarre fucking world. Some have postulated that Merlino would be well suited to host a new Bravo series under development. The Real Gentleman of Philadelphia, modeled loosely on the network's Real Housewives franchise. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. He wouldn't mind a little fame or a lot of fame, he jokes. If he comes forward, he'll probably get a book deal in a movie franchise. Jeez, I just stumbled across this thing. Could it get any weirder? Could it get any weirder? I ask you. Could it get any weirder? What did Sigurd say? He is funny. He looks like someone who would own a bad restaurant that needs to be saved by Gordon Ramsay during the heat and up. I know, right? Totally. That is so funny. That is so funny. Oh, man. National parks are good places to hide bodies. Stay away from those picnic baskets, Yogi. To borrow the phrase, stranger than fiction, no. I swear, what did Charles say? A lot of the East Coast mob guys went to Arizona. Yeah, they did. The only thing that matters is the military order followers. All Trump would have to do is just rescind the medical emergency. This would all be over, by the way. Just remember that. Always remember that. A great reality TV show. The park, the national parks with skinny Joey Merlino. That would be the series. That would be the series. Mercury opposite. No, it can't get much stranger. Oh, well, yes, it can. I set you up there. It can get stranger, and I'm about to show you just how absolutely strange it can get. I want to thank Steve, not Thor by the door, another Steve from the Heartland. Let's call him Steve from the Heartland. I want to thank Steve for this classic piece of video, which is going to take weird to a whole new level by the time we're done today. Okay? There it is. All right. So I'm going to play this thing down. I'm going to play first at regular speed, and I'm going to slow it down. And what you're going to see is going to wig you out. Wig you out. Parks and mobsters. I like that. I like that. Okay. Let me set the stage here for you. This is CBS News. And CBS News projects Joe Biden elected president. This is when this was the march. This was the MAGA march. This was this is what happened on Saturday. Now, she's going to interview somebody by the name of Antoine C. Wright, whom I'd never heard of before. It's an interesting last name, isn't it? Like C. Wright. Keep your eyes on Antoine C. Wright. Here we go. He'll be right here in this corner of the screen.
I want to go back actually to Antoine C. Wright right now. Antoine, you just heard Derek talking about the president's legal strategy. You just heard you just heard Derek talking about the president's legal strategy. You do see a large number of Trump supporters out there at Black Lives Matter Plaza. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the Democrats' legal strategy. Do you have any sense, any guidance right now on how Democrats intend to respond to the president bringing these lawsuits?
Well, I think we have to frame this in context to this point between the DCCC, the DNC, and the DSCC, and all of the affiliate Democratic groups. We've been filing lawsuit after lawsuit just so that we can have free and fair access to the ballot box, because it's been the Republicans and Donald Trump trying to suppress the vote of, in particular, consequential communities, those that look like mine. So we've been playing this legal strategy game for some time now. I think the next step in our quote unquote legal strategies to make sure we have our ducks in a row and are prepared for these delay tactics that will come from Donald Trump, the Republican Party, every step along the way. But I will say respectfully to my Republican friends who know what this democracy should be and know how it should work, we can't play this game, because there will be life after Donald Trump. And the right to vote and our participation is the most sacred thing we have. And we know how elections go in this country. They've been trying to change this election from the very beginning, but now we're here. And the numbers speak for themselves. And ultimately, what is delayed will never be denied, no matter how much of a legal strategy they include in order to.
Did you see that? Did you guys see that? Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? You saw it. You saw it, didn't you? You saw it, didn't you? You saw it, didn't you? Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I'm going to play it again for you. I'm going to slow it down. Okay? You saw it 3 different times. Did you watch his mouth? Did you see his mouth? His mouth actually changes. Okay, I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to slow it down. Watch. Pay attention. Did you see right? All right, let me slow this bad boy down. Come on now. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to go to 05. 05 is probably, there's also a thing that happens with his left shoulder, okay? So watch his left shoulder as well. All right, here we go. Pay attention. Watch his mouth. Start right about here. Right here. Antoine C. Wright.
Lawsuits.
Well, I think we have to frame this in context to this point between the DCCC, the DNC, and the DSCC, and all the affiliate Democratic groups. We've been filing lawsuit after lawsuit just so that we can have free and fair access to the ballot box, because it's been the Republicans and Donald Trump trying to suppress the vote of, in particular, consequential communities, those that look like mine. So we've been playing this legal strategy game for some time now. I think the next step in our quote unquote legal strategies to make sure we have our ducks in a row and are prepared for these delay tactics that will come from Donald Trump, the Republican Party, every step along the way. But I will say respectfully to my Republican friends who know what this democracy should be and know how it should work, We can't play this game because there will be life after Donald Trump. And the right to vote and our participation is the most sacred thing we have. And we know how elections go in this country. They've been trying to taint this election from the very beginning.
Let's just play that back one more time. Okay. Oh boy. Look at that. Freeze frame. You see it now. You see it now. All right, watch the left shoulder. Watch the left shoulder.
They've been trying to taint this election from
what is going on with the left
beginning,
shoulder?
But now
you see what's happening? There's something on his left shoulder. It is very weird. Watch it. Watch it.
And we know how elections go in this country. They've been trying.
What the hell is this? This thing, there's something going on with his left shoulder here. You see that? It just kind of creeps up right at that moment.
To taint this election from the very beginning, but now we're here. And the numbers speak for themselves. And ultimately, what is delayed will never be denied, no matter how much of a legal strategy they include in order to delay the results of this election.
And you thought it couldn't get more strange. You thought it could not get more strange. Devil Spider. He went red eye roll. That was just bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. When they show the white guys drinking and celebrating. Well, they weren't really drinking. They were just out there peacefully marching. Archon. Here we go. The paper, the ink has a trail religiously produced by fraudulent balance. Oh my God, is right? Yeah. That made my heart stop. He's a stereotype so the Dems can simultaneously. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was right. I mean, what realm are we living in? And who was Anton Seabright to begin with? So I did a little digging. There's not a whole lot about him, except that he clearly has been groomed. He's got his own political consulting company called Blueprint Strategy. And he has, let's see, what do we got here? PR, advertising, political strategy firm based in Columbia, South Carolina. He earned a master's of business administration from Webster University and graduated from the Riley Institute at Furman University and the Congressional Black Caucus Institute for Political Education and Leadership Training in Washington, D.C. So Antoine has been groomed. He's been groomed. I went to his Twitter page, and I just thought he might have been interested in the interview that was done with Donald Rumsfeld. So I just linked it to that. Okay, I think that's about it. I think I'm going to leave you on a little high strange today. Yeah, groomed, absolutely. More like he was hatched. More like he was hatched. You guys are funny. You guys are so fucking funny. Anyway, I want to thank Kate and Steve for sending me that surreal and classic gem. There's a lot more going on in this plane of existence than meets the eyes. All right, I'm Robert Phoenix. Have a great day. Stay focused. Get on the World Economic Forum stuff. Don't share the Antoine Seabright to your friends. That might shock them a little bit much. Save that one for later. Okay, save that one for when they're ready. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out here. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to step on what's possible. Have a great day, and Bye for now.